Hello and welcome. It's Mrs. Parada. We are on page 4 of your Algebra 1 Quarter 2 notebook. We're beginning our unit on writing linear equations. Today, we will be focusing on writing linear equations if we are given the slope and the y-intercept. So what's the objective? What are we trying to do here? Well, first we want to find m, or the slope, and we want to find b, or the y-intercept, and write our equation in slope-intercept form. If you remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So if I find m and I substitute it in, and I find b and substitute it in, I will have a linear equation. So let's look at this first example. In example number 1, I'm given the slope m equals negative 2, and I'm given the y-intercept b equals 3. Well, I simply substitute in negative 2 for m, y equals negative 2, x, and it's a positive 3, so it's plus 3. And indeed, that is it. That is that linear equation. I've just written a linear equation with a slope of negative 2 and a y-intercept of 3. Now, I'm going to look at this next one. This next one differs a wee bit because it doesn't say m equals negative 2. It uses the word slope equals 1. Well, I know slope is also m, so m equals 1. Then I'm going to look for b, which is the y-intercept. And the y-intercept, just so you remember, just write it here really quickly, is the value of y. So it's the value of y when x equals 0. So if I'm looking for b, it's here, the value of y when x equals 0. b equals 4. I'm ready to substitute it into the equation. I have y equals 1, x plus 4. Now my final answer is not going to be y equals 1x plus 4. Why don't you pause a minute to think about what you think it might be? If you decided that normally mathematicians would not write 1x, you were correct. My final equation will be y equals x plus 4 because typically we don't write a 1 as a coefficient or a coefficient of 1. This next question kind of leads us to think about what is slope. So an airplane is 30,000 feet above the ground and it begins descending. Remember, descending is going down. So that's a little hint. At the rate of 2,000 feet per minute. Rate is a rate of change is also considered slope. So this is telling me the rate of change is 2,000 feet per minute, but it's going down, so I know it's negative. So m equals negative 2,000. So now I have to think about what is b, where b is that point on the y-axis, the starting point. Well, the airplane is starting at 30,000, so b equals 30,000. I'm ready for my equation. Y equals negative 2,000 x plus 30,000. And that equation represents how the plane will descend. Alrighty. We may be given a graph and have to write a linear equation. So let's say I'm given a graph. What do I do? Well, my first step, I like to find b, which of course is the y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis. I then want to find the slope, find m. And that, of course, is the change in y over the change in x. So let's do these examples. If I look here at number 4, I'm looking for b first, and I see that here's where I'm crossing the y-axis. So b equals negative 1. Now I'm going to think about my slope, and I could go from this point to this point, or this point to this point, or even that point to that point. I'm going to go from here. I'll start at the B. And it looks like I'm going down. So slope equals down 1, 2, 3. Down 3, which I know is going to be negative. And then I go right 1, which will be positive. If I simplify that, my slope equals negative 3, because negative 3 divided by 1 is negative 3. So now I have my B, I have my M, so y equals negative 3x minus 1, because my B is a negative. I've got the equation of this line. Let's look at this next one. And you could pause it and try it on your own if you want. Why don't you do that? Welcome back. Let's look for our B. I can see this line crossing the the y-axis here at 1, 2. So B equals 2. Now I need to look at my slope. The slope, of course, is the change in y over the change in x, and it looks like I'm going up 1, 2, 3. So up 3, that'll go in my numerator. And it's going right 1, 2, 3, 4. So that will go in my denominator. I have my M, I have my B, I'm ready. Y equals 3/4 x plus 2. The final graph, I don't see any little points, so I need to do a little bit of figuring out. This looks pretty clearly where this line is crossing the y-axis. So I am going to say it's crossing the y-axis at 1. B equals 1. And it looks pretty clear that it's crossing this point too. So let's look for my M. It goes down 2, which I know is negative, negative 2. And then it's going right 1, and that's positive. Negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. My slope is negative 2. I'm ready to write my equation of y equals negative 2x plus 1. So hopefully this has been helpful. We've been given a slope and a y-intercept. We've written our equations. And we were given a graph, and we've written equations. I'm going to stop this video. The next video will focus on page 5. Thanks so much.